and Rosario and Cron and Scope and Marwin Gonzalez and all it's going to take is one streak of, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, where everybody's striking out at the same time. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of strikeouts all during the course of the year, and there's going to be a lot of fun because balls are going to be flying over the fence. But there are going to be some streaks, and let's just be clear and acknowledge the reality that there are going to be streaks when, if Cruz is not hitting and Kepler and Polanco aren't getting on base much, and Cron and Scope are striking out a lot. I mean, we could see some times when there's not a lot of offense because, as the point is well made, their on base percentage, stats have aren't that great. And I've been reading interesting things coming from the front office about just what you said about not worried about on base percentage and they haven't had in games when they win games where they hit home runs and they don't win games when they don't. And there's two ways to look at it. One is mostly true that in today's game, you need to hit the ball out of the ballpark, to win games. It's kind of like in golf. Why for most, for average golfers, for most golfers, the par fives are hardest, the hardest holes. Why is that? Because they have to hit, we average golfers have to hit 3 good shots, decent shots in a row, in order to play the par fives well. And that's harder to do for average golfers. And it's the same way in baseball. I mean, if you don't hit the ball out of the ballpark, you got to get walks and base hits. And so I will go to the other reason why the Twins, haven't won games statistically as much, statistically shown as much as when they hit home runs. It is because they don't have 300 hitters. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to say, well, we need to hit the ball out of the ballpark to score runs because when we don't hit the ball out, we don't score runs. Well, that's true. There are plenty of teams that score a lot of runs without hitting the ball out of the ballpark still, if they've got a team full of 300 hitters. And so lacking that, then you might as well stuff your lineup with guys that can hit it out. But the point will still, we will still see streaks when the offense won't be as good, and we're going to see a boatload of consecutive strikeouts, for example.
No question. It'll be really interesting. And the funny thing is that not that the old ways or old days were always better, but boy, I can't tell you how many times I heard from Tom Kelly, Rick Stelmazik, Terry Crowley, whoever. First and third all day, boys. Right? It's just they wanted base hits, they wanted gappers. The two phrases you always heard in batting practice: first and third all day, which in other words, single, with the guy aggressively taking third base and keep doing it. And the other one was replace him. In other words, hit a double to replace the guy who just hit a double. And I don't think we're going to be hearing that during batting practice anymore.
No, I think that's right. And you also can take a lot of walks if you're a home run hitter. Mm-hmm. And in the Star Tribune today, James Rowson, the hitting coach, said something that it's very wise, and and I believe I guess a obvious point, if it's wise, it's true. But the idea is not to get bases on balls. The idea is to go up and get good balls to hit and hit them out of the ballpark. But if you don't get those pitches, then have the discipline to take the ones that you don't want, for two reasons. One, because they're a ball and you're close to a walk and you're close to a better pitch to hit. And two, because if it's not the pitch you want to hit, why make it out on it until you have 2 strikes? And so a guy like Nelson Cruz, even though he'll strike out a fair amount, he's pretty good at getting balls to hit and laying off balls that before he has 2 strikes that he doesn't hit well, right? That he doesn't want, right? Other guys on this club, not so much all the time, and that's one of the things that that's one of the things that is going to need to happen. If it's going to be this kind of ball club, you can live with guys hitting 20 to 35 home runs, 6 guys hitting 20 to 35 home runs, if those guys are drawing enough walks to go with the strikeouts that come with it. If the ratio is too skewed toward the strikeout, versus walks, it's really not going to be good. But if they take a cue from Nelson Cruz, and I'm thinking in particular about Polanco and Kepler, and to some degree Crone and Scope. But if those guys can really concentrate on getting balls they can drive, until they get 2 strikes, and laying off everything else, then the walks will go up, the hits and home runs will go up, everything will be better. We haven't seen a lot of that yet, but that's what maturity is all about too.
Let's get to the leadoff hitter and a couple of good Twitter questions. Do want to thank Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Download the Bite Squad app. Either way is a good way to order from Bite Squad, and they deliver from hundreds of local restaurants. They have a new deal, unlimited deliveries. It's their membership program. Unlimited deliveries from restaurants within a 4-mile radius for just $5.99 a month. Of course, use TALKNORTH, the promo code, all caps, one word, TALKNORTH, to get your first delivery fee waived. But even if you end up paying a delivery fee, you're saving on dishes, you're saving on gas, you're saving on parking, waiting in lines, weather, whatever. You can order Bite Squad to your office for lunch too. If you're like Roy, if you're absolutely just swamped with work because you spend half the winter in Mexico and you have to catch up sometime, it's very convenient. We all love going out and eating. Roy and I love restaurants, but sometimes it's just easier to order in when you do. Bite Squad is the answer. Food for your mood delivered. Again, TALKNORTH is a promo code, but that only works once. After that, just do it because it makes sense. Bitesquad.com. And the Bite Squad app, and we appreciate them supporting the entire network as they do. David in Philadelphia asks, can Roy recall any great stories of playing in the cold?
I've tried to put those out of my mind. I tried to do that at the time, and I don't want to think about it again. The 2 things that jump out at me the most from cold weather, and they're not great. They're not great stories. It's just I remember being in Toronto one time, and it was bright blue sky, not a cloud in it, and the temperature was hovering around 30 degrees, if not colder, and we're out there playing. I actually think it was 27 or 28 degrees, and all of a sudden, it was snowing ice crystals, and I look up and I'm going, from where? Where could this be coming from? There's not a cloud in the sky, but there were ice crystals swirling around us as we were out there. I remember thinking, man, it's one of the reasons I played baseball. Was playing in the summertime, right? It was cold. The most consistently cold place that we would play though was Chicago in the old Comiskey Park. I remember driving up on the bus one day from the hotel. We get to the ballpark, and there was a time and temperature sign outside of Comiskey as the bus rolled up, and it flashed. I think it was 4:30. It must have been earlier than that. We get to the ballpark earlier than that. It must have been 4:00. And it was, it already said 29 degrees. And in Chicago, the wind, as is well documented, the wind blows so coldly off the lake. And there's nothing, I don't think I've ever been colder, maybe even including that Toronto day, than 3 or 4 times when we'd play in April in Comiskey, and it would be, anywhere from 28 to 34 degrees with the wind blowing. It's miserable.
And what did you do?
Well, I will say this too: that if anybody's ever ever held a bat in their hands, I don't care if from the time you're 8 or 9 years old, or if you play in the big leagues, boy, it's lurking in your mind how badly that's gonna the sting is gonna be on your hands if you don't square it up. and I see guys do an awful lot of things. Use big thick handle bats and choke up 4 inches and do everything they could to get the ball above the label when they made contact with it.
Well, I still remember that even in just Little League with somebody throwing 40 miles an hour, it still just give you the buzzsaw feeling in your hands. Is there?
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because if you hit it below the label, it hurts in the fat part of your hand below your thumb, and it just like bees, And if you hit it off the end, then it hurts out in your fingertips. It's interesting thing.
Well, Roy, why didn't you just hit it on the sweet spot all the time?
Well, that's what I did, because I learned there early that I didn't like that pain, so I just always hit the ball right on the screws. There
you go. Practice. Let's thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent Champlin, Hoaglund. He handles my insurance, handles Michael Russo's insurance. We're very happy with him, and he also provides financial services. And he's very easy to work with wherever you are in the metro, whether it's through his app, phone calls, emails, very responsive staff.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been #1 in car insurance since World War II and #1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
So what do you think of Max Kepler being a leadoff hitter?
I like him hitting second. I like Polanco, I think. But, I think those guys are going to be 1 and 2 to start the season, one way or the other. And we'll just have to wait and see. I like Max. If Max Kepler likes leading off, I like Max Kepler leading off. And whatever is going to make Max feel like his approach at the plate is conducive to where he hits in the lineup, or if that makes any difference to him at all, then if he likes it, I like it. We'll see how that goes. To start the year, I do like him up in first or second more than I do down in the order. So we'll see how he reacts to that. Oftentimes, the old rule the unwritten rule in baseball is that you have your if there are 2 guys, one right-handed, one left-handed, you have a left-handed hitter hitting second. Mm-hmm. The idea being the right-handed hitter gets on first base, and there's a big hole, or if he gets on second base, the left-handed hitter can pull the ball, to get into third or through, to the outfield kind of thing. And that has diminished over time, where if of course if your leadoff hitter, if your left-handed hitter is a good hitting, high on base guy, it doesn't make any difference. So what you really want out of Max in the first or second spot is consistency against both right-handers and left-handers, and then cut down on the strikeouts. That's what you would hope. And I will say this about Max in that regard. I hope that hitting up in the order doesn't mean that he takes a lot of pitches gratuitously. Trying to work the count. Or trying not to strike out, or make outs early. Trying not to make outs early. I'd like to see Max get a very aggressive approach at the plate, figure out how a pitcher's trying to get him out, how he wants to hit, what pitches he wants to hit, and go up there and tear it up, early in the counts till he gets 2 strikes. You can worry about not striking out once you get to 2 strikes, and have a good approach there. But I'd sure hate to see Max's mind get messed up by saying, well, if I'm hitting first or second, I got to do these kinds of things. I hit fourth for a while for Gene Mock, I hit fourth for Billy Gardner for a little while. Both of those guys said to